Hey guys, it's the Whale coming at you with my True Draco deck profile for the month of 2025. I actually managed to go 3-1 with this deck last week's locals, which I thought was really cool. Probably because people just didn't know how to play around it and they didn't really know what the deck did. Kind of made me feel a little old, to be honest. So yes, as you guys may have or may not have heard, we got Masterpiece to 1, and it does basically almost nothing for the deck. Don't get me wrong, the power ceiling does increase a little bit, but it is not like a break type of thing where it's like engage, right? The engage really helped the deck, going to 2 and then going to 3. This doesn't really help too much, to be honest. I played 4 matches. All 4 matches, I lost only one to what did I lose to? Salamangreat, actually. My first round I didn't draw a monster. And then my other 3 rounds I played against Rizio, Malice, and then Rizio Fiendsmith, which I think Rizio has a really bad matchup against this deck, and I'll explain to you guys why. But anyway, let's get started with the deck profile, and like always, I will always put a deck image down below if you guys are interested in just that, and let's keep going, guys. So, for my longtime viewers, you guys know that this is probably one of my all-time favorite decks. Back when I came back to Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2020, this was the first deck I picked up because I love trap-based decks, and this was still very good and relevant at the time. Obviously, this kind of fell off, but we have Masterpiece now, so I figured my first printing of Masterpiece has to be the QCR, right? So Masterpiece is fantastic. Basically, it's a pseudo towers, but not really. You can make it unaffected by 2 types of cards. So either monster, spell, or trap. You can only pick 2 because this requires 2 tributes. And then True Dracos all share the ability that you can tribute face-up spell and traps you control as the tribute material. So if you tribute a monster and a spell, then this card becomes unaffected by spells and monsters, or monsters and spells. But it is affected by traps, so keep that in mind. Masterpiece is also really good, but like I said, by the time I saw Masterpiece, I felt like I had so much control over the game that I didn't even need it to win. So very few times I really did feel like Masterpiece was the win condition of the deck. Still a fantastic card. During either player's turn, you can banish a continuous spell or trap in the graveyard in your graveyard, and then pop a card your opponent controls. It's good. Again, today's standards, this is still a pretty okay card. For the Disciples, we are running the 3 Dynamite. This is arguably the best Disciple. Dynamite, basically, when your opponent decides to breathe, you can chain the effect to basically place or add a True Draco trap. And the traps are arguably the better effects because when they get sent from the spell or trap card zone to the graveyard, you get to pop a monster on the field. So, really good. This one will probably always be at 3. The other Disciple, we're running the 2 Ignis Heat. Ignis Heat does the same thing that Dynamite does, except this one fetches spells or traps. This used to be ran at 3 and then the 1 Majesty Maiden, but now we're running the 2 Ignis Heat and the 2 Majesty Maiden. This is just really good to kind of fetch you any True Draco monster you desire, even Masterpiece. So again, your opponent does absolutely anything, and then you chain their effects to either, let's just say add add or activate a spell from the deck to the graveyard, or Majesty lets you Rhoda a True Draco monster from your deck to your hand. So that's why this one was always considered the worst one, because it never added anything to your board. It just wrote it. But now, since we have Masterpiece, you want to see it as soon as possible, preferably. So yeah, the 2/2 is seeming to work very nice. MVP of the deck for me, 100%, and what allowed me to go second almost all the time when I saw this card was the 2 Amano Awado. This deck struggles going second. That's just the honest to God truth. But there is so much monster interruption that this card just says no. So I would multiple times normal summon Awado, set a True Draco trap, and then tribute summon a True Draco monster. My trap activates because it's not a monster effect, so my trap activates to target 1 monster on the field and destroy it. So I would target their Detonator or their DDD or their Desiree or something like that, hypothetically. Not hypothetically, it happened, and that's how I was able to pick apart the board. So really good. Amano Iwado is fantastic. Again, it's what allowed me to go second half the time. Out of the 4 rounds that I played, I only managed to lose one of the die roll. So which I won that game. So yeah, I still kind of agree that this deck is solely a going first deck, and going second, you can still go second, but it struggles quite a bit. That is it for the monsters. I believe that's only 10 monsters. I don't think you need any more. This deck is super hyper consistent with as much draw power and consistency that it has. For the True Draco spells, we're running, of course, the 3 Heritage. This is your other piece of draw power. Whenever a certain type of True Draco spell, monster, or trap gets them from your field to the graveyard, you can then activate this effect to then draw that amount of cards. So if you sent a monster and a trap, you can activate this, draw 2 cards, because 2 different types got sent from the field to the graveyard. Also, all the continuous spells have the same effect, where you can additionally tribute summon a True Draco monster from your hand. So a lot of the times I would normal summon a Watto, activate a continuous spell. Spell effect lets me tribute summon into like a, I don't know, Ignis Heat or something like that, and then my spell would activate in the graveyard to then pop spell or trap card that my opponent controls. Spells, the pop spell and traps, and the trap cards pop monsters on the field. So we're running 3 Heritage. Again, this is very consistent. It's the consistency aspect of it. We're running the 2 Disciples, not 3, because Disciples by itself doesn't do anything. Basically, this is my favorite spell and trap in the deck, just because I think the artwork just looks so cool, and it's kind of biblical in my opinion. But that being said, this lets you target 3 True Draco monsters or cards, excuse me, in the graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, and draw 1 card. So as you guys can tell, this deck is very much into drawing itself out. So that being said, I highly recommend, before you activate any action, like a Desires or anything like that, normal summon a Watto, so that you know it will go through. So, Disciples, really, really good. I think only 2 is necessary because, again, you can just recycle it. It's not that big a deal. If your Masterpiece gets sent to the graveyard, again, activate this, recycle it, not a big deal. The other card that is currently at 1 is the 1 Dragonic Diagram. Soon, my beloved, you will come back, I promise. That being said, this card's really good. This basically lets you trigger your Heritage by drawing, or this card literally just searches out your entire True Draco line. Whatever card you need, spell, trap, monster, this card searches it out, gives it a nice little attack boost and battle protection, so it's not too bad. I'm not running Terraforming because this is just a one-of, and I usually don't feel like I need it. Realistically speaking, I don't feel like I need it because this deck just searches everything out. So I decided to not even include Terraforming in it. If you want to run more of a domain build, like a Monarch build, for sure you can include set rotation Terraforming and then just sit on the field spell for the Monarchs. So that's not bad, but I just opted to run more traps, and it worked for me. Honestly, one of the main reasons I wanted to run this deck was because I have QCR, Pot of Dualities, and this deck utilizes it very well. You don't special summon. That's it. 2 Desires. Again, we do not need Masterpiece to win. This is a Floodgate deck. So what do you need to see? Your Floodgates. So you do not need Masterpiece to win. I have banished. Every time I activated this, I banished Masterpiece, and I still managed to win. Yes, of course, Masterpiece is really nice to have out. Usually I try to have them out by turn 2. But again, not necessary. Desires just gives you that extra oomph that you need for the deck. For the other draw power, we are obviously running the 3 card. Not the 3. I wish the 1 card of Demise. You don't special summon, and this is really good because you only run 10 monsters. So statistically speaking, you should be drawing into all spell and traps. This card resolves. You're winning that battle 100%. Let's go on to the traps. Okay, so the traps, you're running the 3 Apocalypse. This one is the best trap in the deck. Probably like the best True Draco trap in the deck, because this one lets you basically tribute a True Draco card or send a True Draco card you control to the graveyard to then half the attack and defense of all your opponent's monsters. So this can be done during the damage step, which is really good. I did it quite a bit into like Detonator and stuff like that. Really, really good card. And of course, it's a trap, so when it gets sent from the field to the graveyard, you pop a monster your opponent controls. It also has the secondary effect that during your opponent's main phase, you can tribute summon a true Draco monster from your hand. So it's really good for getting those masterpieces out that you searched out with Maiden. So you can send this plus a monster, and then masterpiece hits the board. This targets a monster, and then you have a masterpiece that's unaffected by traps and monsters, which become very hindersome for the opponent. The weaker of the other traps, in my opinion, are two True King's Return. This right here has the same effect where during the main phase you contribute, but the unique effect about it is, of course, the fact that you can special summon a true Draco monster from your graveyard in defense position. We don't really want defense. We don't really want special summon monsters, and it's special summon it out in defense. It's really not that big a deal, to be completely honest. For the more important floodgates, in my opinion, we're running the 3 Monarchs Erupt. This is basically a one-sided skill drain where you control a tribute summon monster. I don't know why people don't run this card. This card is fantastic and wins me a ton of games. Skill drain is there's a reason why skill drain is at 1. This card is nuts. And I'm of course running the 2 lose 1 turn. If you feel more comfortable, you can switch the ratios around and run 2 Monarchs Erupt and 3 lose 1 turns, because lose 1 turn you don't require setup. Lose 1 turn during the turn that you cannot activate it if you control a special summon monster. That's why we're only running 2 True King's Return. And second of all, when your opponent were to special summon a monster, negate that special summon monster's effect and switch it to defense position. So it's pretty good. For the rest of the floodgates, we're running the 1 Tikaboo. This card's cracked against mono-based decks, like Malice. It won me my Malice matchup, of course. Really, really good. The 1 Rivalry, this won me against my Ryzeal Fiendsmith combo. This was fantastic. Oh, this also won me against my Salamangreat matchup as well. And of course, probably the most broken floodgate in the entire game, the 1 Skill Drain. Cards cracked for a reason. We try to run as much skill drain as possible and then just beat our opponent constantly down with it. For the rest of the traps, you're running the 2 Apophis, the Swamp Deity. This card is extremely popular now because of the Odeon deck, but ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys forgot, we used to run this card back in Eldritch and True Draco as well. This card is fantastic. This card basically states that for all face-up Swellow Trap, for all face-up continuous traps you control, you can negate face-up cards your opponent controls. So if your opponent activates a Harpies, and let's just say you have a face-up Tikaboo, you can chain this, and then it resolves. Since you have a face-up continuous trap on the field, you can negate that Harpies Featherstorm, or Duster, or Lightning Storm, which I used. Unfortunately, this only works during the main phase, though. If it worked during any phase, I might have 3 of it, but I just think 2 is fine. And the only card that I genuinely think that should be ran in this deck, and I don't see anyone run it, is 3 Iron Thunders. Ladies and gentlemen, Iron Thunder is basically a Solemn Strike and a Judgment all put into one. Alright, so basically, if your opponent activates anything you don't want to on the field, a spell or trap like Evenly or whatever, you just activate this and pay half your life points to negate it. Only bad part is that this does not negate things in the graveyard, meaning that if your opponent sends for X Aggregator to target something and then Aggregator effect, you can't activate Solemn Strike, which kind of, I mean, you can't activate this because it is not on the field, which kind of sucks, but again, it's not the end of the world. You still have quite a bit of interruption, even if they Aggregator, like let's just say a Skill Drain or whatever, you still have enough to play through. So Iron Thunder, I think, is fantastic in this deck, and I really do think that it should be ran. Also, it destroys everything that was in the column that the card activated. So usually game 1, my opponent doesn't know that I'm playing this, and it's a surprise factor for them because that's how they destroy their own cards. And then game 2, I usually set it out for like a Solemn Strike or a Solemn Judgment or whatever the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the deck. A flat 40. I genuinely don't think you need more in True Draco, and I think 40 is just the magic number. And like I said, I managed to get, I went 3-1. I managed to top with this deck. Again, it wasn't really that big of a competitive locals, but it was still a really fun one at that, and I still got to play a couple of meta matches. So the deck, for sure, has a, you know, a niche, But that's my deck for the month of April 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoy. See you guys later.